Okay, welcome. I'm going to do some daily updates on how the TCR is going on, but before I get into the daily updates, I'll give you a quick overview of what it is. The Transcontinental race, the Transcontinental bike race, is around a 4,000 kilometer race across Europe. It's run by a company called Lost Dot, who do a few different races, but we are talking about the Transcontinental race, which this year is in its 10th year. It was inspired by Mike Hall, who started the race back in 2013, who very sadly and tragically passed away in 2017. So a lot of this is in his legacy and in the spirit of self-supported bike racing. What that means has layers to it. People interpret that slightly different ways, but TCR are quite rigorous about it. They take it very, very seriously. This means you are only allowed to use things that would be commercially available to other riders. That means you can stop at bike shops, you can buy food, you can stay in hotels, but if somebody on the side of the road offers you a sandwich or offers to help fix a puncture, you say, "Thank you very much for the kind offer, no thank you." And as you can see, there are a lot of kilometers, a lot of mountains to have problems on that you might need help with. So if the riders are anything like me when I tried to do this last year, they might have starred on Google Maps lots of different bike shops along the route. This year is a special year, 10-year anniversary. They're starting in Roubaix. They're doing a lap of the velodrome, the famous velodrome in Roubaix, doing some of the cobbles to start with, which are pretty horrendous. I've done a tiny amount of those. They are savage. Before heading south, or sort of southeast, down to Slovenia. There's a lot of mountains in Austria and northern Slovenia that they'll have to deal with. There'll be a parcours there. A parcours, it means a section of road or gravel or track that every rider must do. There's no getting around it. They've got to do those specific bits of road, but in between those parcours and those checkpoints, it's free routed. So everything here, free routed. And then it goes south further into Bosnia, a lot of hot weather down here in July and August, across to Kosovo, down into Turkey, and finishing in Istanbul. So they'll have to navigate some bridges or perhaps even some ferries down here and then decide how they're gonna get around to the finish in Istanbul. It's worth highlighting, this year has more women than ever before, which is excellent. There are, I think, 40 women starting at this year's Transcontinental race, and this is a photo that the TCR team have done to promote the really strong and large cohort of women that are on the start line. It's awesome to see. But let's go and have a little look at the actual route itself. You can see this is the tracking using via Lost Dot's website, using follow my race. Starting in Roubaix, they're doing that velodrome, and then this red line is the parcours they all have to do. It takes in some cobbles. It also then goes straight into Gerardsbergen, which is where it has been starting. The race has been starting in Gerardsbergen for quite a few years now, and the riders will have had to do the Muur van Gerardsbergen, which is the wall translated. Very steep, cobbly, and they'll be doing that late at night. Because another factor of the TCR is they start late at night. This year they're starting at 8 p.m, which I wonder might be something to do with the use of the velodrome, and maybe they can't use the velodrome quite so late. Last year and the previous years, they've started at 10 p.m, which throws everyone's body clock off immediately, riding straight into and through the night. People then will be free routing from this red line all the way down to the checkpoint in northern Slovenia. So there's a lot of options here. People will inevitably be going through Germany. It's whether they go south through Germany or perhaps north and then south. people's routes will be really interesting to follow along. Then further down there's some more parcours going into Kosovo, and here's where it could be interesting. CP4, I haven't looked into this in much detail. I don't know what the ferry situation is here, but they have to get across and then get to this parkour, and I imagine that I imagine there might be some people who dash across and then dash back to perhaps take the slightly shorter route, or some people who just stay and don't deal with another ferry and try to limit the number of externalities. Some people to watch. They've got a really strong field this year. I think if you look through the names of the top 20 people, there's a really good bunch of men and women who are likely to be at the front and the pointy end of the race. But we must talk about Christoph Strasser, who is two-time winner. He won TCR number 8 and TCR number 9. He is probably the race favourite, and there he is, looking strong and gorgeous. He's got well worth following on Instagram, because he'll be keeping people up to date as the race goes on. Another rider who came second last year is Robin Gumpali. He is a very, very strong rider. He was ahead for a lot of the ride last year, and is very experienced in this kind of race. So I'm sure he'll be pushing the front of the race. There are other riders like the cap number 3, Tim DeWitt. There are some really strong women like Jamie Wilson, to name but a few. I'll dig into them in more detail as the race kicks off.